Elizabeth Warren was one of the people that were engaged in this town hall. And there was a question about superdelegates. And so we like to show you a clip of the question and her response.
During the Nevada debate, you and every other candidate on the stage, except for Bernie, hello somebody, indicated that the candidate with the plurality of delegates should not necessarily be the nominee. This essentially means the will of the voters could be denied by the superdelegates and the DNC, which is basically undemocratic. And in my opinion, is a bunch of baba booey, to put it politely. Can you explain why the will of the voters should not matter if no candidate reaches a majority of delegates?
So you do know that was Bernie's position in 2016?
Not necessarily, no.
Yeah.
He won 22 states, so he went to the convention
that was
for his
Bernie's
voters.
position in 2016, that it should not go to the person who had a plurality.
Okay.
So, and remember, his last play was to superdelegates. So the way I see this is you write the rules before you know where everybody stands, and then you stick with those rules. So for me, Bernie had a big hand in writing these rules. I didn't write them, but Bernie did when they were putting together the 2016 platform for the Democratic Convention. Those are the rules that he wanted to write and others wanted to write. Everybody got in the race thinking that was the set of rules. I don't see how come you get to change it just because he now thinks there's an advantage to him for doing that.
Number one, Bernie is not seeking to change any rules. The question was about if the primaries turn out this way, should the candidate that has a plurality of the delegates, which would also correlate with the amount of votes they receive, should they get the nomination? That was the question. That was the question. The question wasn't necessarily about rules. The question wasn't necessarily about rules. One. Two, Bernie wrote the rules? Bernie wrote the rules? Bernie wrote those rules? I mean, there were a lot of different rules changes. There were rules changes involving caucuses, making it more transparent. Most of y'all know about that. There was also some new rules about how primaries would be handled, making it more accessible. And primarily, there was rule changes about superdelegates. But simply because Bernie Sanders was lobbying for rules changes, that doesn't mean he's responsible for every rule that actually came out of these reforms, number one. You know what I'm saying?
The committee that was, or the people that were responsible for making these changes, there were Hillary Clinton people, and there were also Bernie Sanders people. Guess who had a majority of people that were making these decisions? It was Hillary Clinton. So whatever Bernie Sanders wanted couldn't really get passed unless somebody that was supporting Hillary Clinton, joined Bernie Sanders and his coalition. That didn't happen. Actually, what Bernie Sanders wanted was the end of superdelegates.
Yes.
And in its totality, he wanted the end of superdelegates. And that's what a lot of people throughout the primaries was calling for in 2016. Why do we have these party elites making decisions for regular people? Is that democracy?
No, it's not. And here's not complete proof, but just kind of a little kernel of proof. From Howard Dean. And he tweeted out something that I'm just like, whoa, why would you tweet this out? It just seems as if something you would want to keep quiet. And he was responding to some post about superdelegates or the will of the people. And Howard Dean responded with this tweet. He said, superdelegates don't represent people. And he put represent people in quotes. He said, I'm not elected by anyone. I'll do what I think is right for the country. So what does that tell you right there?
He's not, just like he said, they don't represent people. They couldn't care less about what people actually think about the voting process, about who they support, about who should be the Democratic nominee. They're going to do what they think is best, no matter what the people say. So this is in stark contrast to what the Democratic Party says that they're about. They're a party of the people. They're a big tent coalition.
So what do you think about, you know, her saying that, hey, Bernie Sanders was trying to appeal to superdelegates last year, so he's being a hypocrite. And I'm just like, again, that would only make sense if the rules were the same.
Right. That's true, because the rules aren't the same. Okay, the rules aren't the same, and there's there's certainly I guess a clarification that needs to be made, because Bernie Sanders, when it got time to the convention, yes, he said we're going to take it to the convention, but the primary purpose of doing that was so that there would be changes enacted going forward. He was going to use the leverage that he had by the delegates that he had won to enact changes going forward. That's the whole reason 2020 is a little bit different than 2016.
To negotiate a progressive platform.
That's right. But did he get all that he wanted? No, because Hillary Clinton had more advocates that were, again, advocating for what she wanted and what the DNC wanted, not what Bernie Sanders wanted. This is a clip from 2016, and Bernie Sanders talks about his appeal to superdelegates.
Going to try to convince those superdelegates, when it's all said and done, to go with you instead of Hillary Clinton. You've made a distinction between superdelegates from states you've won, that you think those superdelegates should go for you. So will you not try to convince any superdelegate who comes from a state that you did not win in the primary and caucus process?
Right. Look, this is what I think. If I win, or Hillary Clinton, if that is your point, Hillary Clinton won Mississippi by a huge vote. Should I convince superdelegates there to vote for me when she won that state overwhelmingly? No, I shouldn't. But we won states, like Washington, Alaska, Hawaii, New Hampshire, in landslide victories. And I do believe that the superdelegates, whether it's, Clinton's or mine, states that we won, superdelegates in states where a candidate wins a landslide victory should listen to the people in those states.
Now tell me, is that an unreasonable position to take? Because, look, Howard Dean has told us that superdelegates do not represent people. He clearly said that, and that was years ago. Actually, that was years ago, right?
Yeah. He said that March 5th, 2016.
Right. So that was years ago, and I'm sure he believes the same thing right now. So, what Bernie Sanders is saying is that the will of the people, that case has been stated by the outcome of the election. So he had these victories in all of these states, but the superdelegates that represent these states are like, well, we don't care because we don't like Bernie Sanders.
So exactly,
I don't care.
which superdelegates was he trying to appeal to?
The superdelegates of the states that he won, which again is very reasonable. It's a very reasonable appeal. He clearly said that the states that Hillary Clinton won, states like Mississippi, he included that example, which she won with a huge margin. I'm not going to appeal to those superdelegates because the people have already spoken. They want Hillary Clinton.
That sounds very Trumpian. That sounds like something Trump would do, right?
Yeah, it surely does.
Allow Hillary Clinton to, get what she deserves. Sounds like something Trump would do.